the luxury market is showing major signs of slowing down. We've got price decreases. How does this impact you as a potential seller, as a potential buyer? We've got Wade Giles on our upcoming interview happening right now. We're going to cover what has happened in the luxury market, how the inventory is, what we're expecting to see in the near future, and what opportunities there are for you as a buyer or a seller in the luxury real estate market. So be sure and like and subscribe. We've got a lot more great content. We're going to keep you informed of everything that's going to happen in this market as it happens, when we see it, so you know first. Check it out. So, all right, got Wade here again. Welcome back.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, fresh from your trip to Africa, and you did you get to see the homes you built there?
I did, yeah. We have 3 homes that are on the ground that are moved into, and 2 more that are under construction. So as a recap, for every 10 homes that we sell, we build a home in South Africa for the Zulu people.
Yeah.
And it was the most incredible experience, just getting to meet the people. And we went to a woman's house and had lunch one day. But I noticed when we built the homes, we built the homes, but it was literally like 4 walls and a roof and some electricity, and that was about it. So I noticed they were sleeping, the children were sleeping on straw mats, like on the concrete floor, and they were using old beds and old bedding, and they didn't have kitchens or kitchen appliances. So we went in and went shopping and finished out those homes. So they all have stoves and little refrigerators and, bunk beds in one of the homes. So whatever they needed, we went ahead and made that house a home. And
that's cool.
A really incredible experience.
Nice. All right, let's talk about the elephant in the room here.
Yeah.
The real estate market, the luxury real estate market, and there's 2 components of it, right? We've got luxury property, what is luxury property now? 1.5 million?
1.5 to 2.
Yeah, and then up, and then there's the other one, which is spec luxury. It's I was talking with somebody yesterday. I forget who it was. I think John Crow. I think he said that somebody is holding on to 11 listings right now. One of his friends. Oh, it was Tim B. He told me that. Yeah, and another person like 7. I know you've been listing heavy historically this year. What are you seeing in your inventory?
Some things are sitting, like sitting ducks. Other things are getting quite a bit of activity. We listed one today. I've just had another, I think, phone call for that property in particular. My phone's been blowing up all morning.
Yeah.
And I think it's because we priced it right from the beginning. And my listings that are sitting a little bit longer is because I think we were a little overzealous in our initial asking price.
Yeah.
And then even making reductions since then, people are always looking for what's fresh and not going back and being like, wait a minute, this house at this number actually is a good value.
Yeah.
Like, I've got a listing that I think is priced very, very well, but we sat a little too high for a little too long.
Yeah, and that's the trap that sellers get into, right? That we always warn them against,
Right.
But it just, sometimes they need to see it for themselves.
Right.
People are always asking what's going to happen with this market, and I met with this investor yesterday, runs a capital fund, and his whole plan was to buy new builds. He says we're not at the bottom yet. He's bought in Silicon Valley for years. New builds from 500 to 1.5, right? But he had some good insight on it. He thinks that we're going to hit 25% drop, right? Which, honestly, this is what I was trying to tell him, because he's like, what about other homes? I don't see. I think when you look at 25% drop, that's a 25% drop from February.
Right.
Okay, we're not. The only distressed people are the people that have owned a home less than 1 year and need to move.
Right.
Which is very few people, and builders.
Right.
Right. So, what are you seeing? Give me a recap. I know you pulled some numbers about like ALN and private networks and MLS. What are you seeing out there?
Yeah. So on ALN, I pulled some numbers this morning. They're over. Let's see. There are 350 listings on ALN at the moment. And of the 350,
Now that's the prices of
1.5 million plus.
Okay.
In order to be a listing on ALN, it's 1.5 million.
Oh.
And for people who don't know, ALN is Austin Luxury Network, which is a private network for agents to look at off-market properties.
Gotcha. Did they raise it to 1.5 now?
They did. They
okay.
raised it, I believe, in July.
Okay.
To 1.5.
So 350
350
actives.
actives. There are 17 pending.
Wow.
17 pending. What I think has happened with ALN a little bit, years ago, before the pandemic, ALN was a great place to do some pre-marketing on a property. Maybe you're still negotiating on price with your seller.
Yeah.
You want them to come down, but it's a great way to test
the market.
And, I think a lot of people had a lot of success with clients willing to pay a little bit more than what it would be had it gone on MLS, but for tax purposes or the panache and exclusivity, the cachet of buying off market, that's an appeal for some buyers. But also people weren't pushing the market by 10 or 15% pre-pandemic. They were maybe 5% above where they would like to list it, generally speaking.
Yeah.
They would list it 5% more than than their ideal on ALN.
Right.
Before they went to MLS and see what they could do.
Yeah.
And then during the pandemic, ALN, the private market was being used a little bit more sparingly. You could find some deals on there, but again, it was back to, the prices were probably quite a bit higher than they would be. But at the same time, if it went on MLS, there was no telling what would have happened when it was opened up to Zillow and Realty.com and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So people were willing to take that risk then. Now that the market has shifted, I find that ALN oftentimes, not always, but a lot of the properties on there are just crazy overpriced, and agents are really reluctant to put them onto the MLS because they know they're going to just be sitting ducks.
That's right.
In the crude days on market.
Yeah, and so they're telling sellers that, which is rightly so, like, look, you don't want to test the market out.
Right.
You still test it out on ALN.
That's correct.
And there's plenty of exposure there. So, and then what about MLS?
MLS, there are 545 active listings above 2 million in our entire MLS system.
That is got to be a record.
Of that, there are currently 73 properties that are pending or active under contract. In the last 90 days, we've had 147 closings. And in the past 30 days, we've had 38 closings. So, things are starting to dwindle down. Now, to break that down even further, like in 1B, we've got 56 active in MLS, 37 on ALN, north of 2 million in Terrytown, Pemberton, Old West Austin, 1B. So a total of 93 properties, north of 2 million. 5 of them are pending across both platforms.
Gosh, when you and I talked right before your trip on the phone, I think there was like 30 in like Clarksville, right?
Yeah. Well, in like 1B, like Terrytown, Pemberton, there were like 36, I think. So there are currently 5 pending across ALN and MLS, and we've had 15 closed in the past 90 days, 5 in the past 30.
Wow. So my question is, we obviously have more inventory now. People that are want to sell their homes now than we did before.
Right.
Okay.
Make no mistake, we are in a buyer's market.
Right.
For sure.
But why are people selling? We know why the builders are selling, obviously. But what are the reasons you get for your sellers selling?
It's kind of across the board. Some people are moving. I've got some clients that are moving back to California.
Wow.
Some people who just want to downsize and they feel as though this is gonna get worse before it gets better.
Yeah.
And so they want to go ahead and get ahead of it as much as possible. And then some are feeling like, hey, we still have a tremendous amount of equity in our homes. So yeah, we missed out on quite a bit more that we could have had we sold 9 months ago.
Yeah.
But they're still doing fine. Either they own their homes outright or, they've got tremendous equity.
Yeah. And are second homeowners are they liquidating second homeowners?
Some of them, yeah.
Yeah, makes sense because of taxes.
For sure. The taxes have gone, which is another question. Our taxes got so inflated last year.
Yeah.
Now that property values are coming down, what's the tax assessor going to do next year?
Yeah.
And they can't defend those numbers.
Right. And well, Chris Jacob had said a long time ago, I think we're about to test this theory, is that that they can only raise the taxes as much as their budget quota is,
Which is like 3%, I think.
something like that. But I guess what it means is it like even though the assessed value won't go up to what it actually is what I took that to mean. So in other words, if you're just because you have a second home, okay, and it's not a homestead, and the value goes up 50%, that doesn't mean your taxes are going to raise that much to that level.
Okay.
But we'll test that.
But what if they go even? I don't know. It'll be interesting to see what happens because
Yeah.
I think market values are certainly going to fluctuate.
Well, and the tax assessor always plays a trick of, well, the land is worth more now. They devalue the home. So moving on to new builds. This is stuff that everyone's talking about this article. It's the Wall Street Journal article about new builds.
For sure.
I saw, just for shits and giggles the other day, just pulled up in 7704 alone, there were 47 brand new homes, spec homes in 7704. 47, right?
A lot of builders got really, really bullish on 04.
They sure did. And, there's going to be a bubble in the new build spec market, right? Are you have clients looking at that stuff?
Yeah, I was showing some this morning.
Okay, what's the feeling the client gets for that?
Well, I think clients are recognizing more and more now
Yeah.
that there's tremendous opportunity. And, my thought on this is I've never seen a better opportunity for a buyer to buy a home in Austin real estate. I've been in this business for almost a decade.
Yeah.
I've just never seen this kind of opportunity. Yes, their mortgage payment is going to be crazy high.
Yeah.
And they're going to have to weather that storm for a year or two, but hopefully at that point we will see rates start to come down. They can refi, and they're better, but they're going to have to be willing to withstand some pain or be cash.
And right.
I've got quite a few cash buyers looking right now as well, and they're all looking for a deal.
They should be.
I was at a meeting the other day and someone said everything in our market is $1 million overpriced.
Yeah.
In some cases they're true. That's true. There's a house on the market right now in Central Austin that the people bought last year. They're listing it $200,000 less than what they have in it. They bought it literally 13 months ago, and I ran numbers on it, and it's still $1 million too high, based off of current pendings.
And these are homeowners that Well, look, I had a client buy a home for one of my agents up in Round Rock, and it's like some neighborhoods like $950,000, and the builder dropped the price on the next one he sold $150,000, which was completely bullshit, right? And that's a travesty. I've never heard of anything like that before. This was back in July too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
However, I'm like asking the guy how long he's going to live there. He's like, oh, probably 3 or 4 years. Well, that's a kind of a mistake. You're putting that much money, not just that, but especially in a $2, $3, $4 million home. It's it's crazy.
There's another house in Travis Heights, just another example. It closed in, I believe, May, brand new construction. It's on the market. I think the people moved in and are quickly trying to make an exit, but the house is brand new for all intents and purposes. Yeah. It's a few months old, and they're now down $500,000. So I think it started at 3.4, or they bought it at 3.4. They're down at like 2.9. And the house is immaculate.
So with financing, what are you seeing? Because I know last time we spoke, the jumbo rates were slightly less than conforming loans.
Right.
Is that still the same?
They're about the same. It's a little bit less, but
not much.
Yeah, not much. And rates, of course, continue to just climb.
Yeah.
And will continue to climb. I mean, I think there was a big conversation a few months ago that rates would climb through the end of the year, and then we'd start to see things stabilize and taper off. But especially after yesterday's news, that's very evident that that's probably not going to happen.
Yeah.
And historically speaking, the Fed has maintained high rates over the last several downturns in the market. They've maintained that high rate number even while inflation goes down for 8.7 months. So once we start to see a decrease in inflation and that number starts to go down, that doesn't mean that rates are immediately going to go down. They're going to stay there because the Fed's basically saying, look, this short-term pain of a couple of years of just really crippling property values and what's to come. I mean, we're at the beginning. It's already been pretty bad. I think there's more runway to go. Hopefully not too much more, but what we're experiencing right now is just pales in comparison to what would happen if we were to let inflation continue to run rampant. So So it's just according to them, it's a necessary evil.
Yeah, and so I 2 weeks ago I interviewed my good buddy Max Lehman, and if you're watching this, there'll be a little card above that will go to that interview. He probably has one of the best explanations of inflation. So, and I talked with somebody yesterday, the cap fund guy. He worked on Wall Street for 30 years.
Okay.
And, he was saying the guy to follow is Larry Summers. I haven't checked him out yet, but he's an independent guy. He used to be in the Fed and all that. And that he thinks that the rate has to get to the interest rates has to get to 5.5, which I believe yesterday brought us to 5. This is not the mortgage rate, but
Right.
And this guy's really smart, okay? And he was saying that he thinks it will be there like first quarter of the year. And that's when they're going to stop raising the interest rate.
Right.
How long will they keep it
But they're
there?
not going to go down, right?
They're not going to go down right away. I think most people that I've talked to, and I've talked to a bunch of them, is that sometime next year it's going to go down.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, so
towards the end of next year.
Yeah. So the opportunity here, I believe, is in these new spec homes, right?
Oh, for sure.
Because these guys have been they were high interest rates. When they finish the home, they refinance it if they can't sell it, but they're higher interest rates holding costs. And
their banks are looking at them like, this thing's got to get off the books.
Yeah.
So.
And not just that. Most of these guys in that 2 to 4 million range, right, this isn't their first time doing this.
Correct.
So the opportunity here is to get rid of this thing, even if you don't make a dime or even lose some money, and get back into something else. Because 9 months to 14 months later, by most accounts, we won't have this problem.
For sure. If you're a builder and had an opportunity to be buying lots and dirt right now, I think it's a good time to do that because your product will be coming out hopefully on the other side of this.
Yeah.
But you've got to get out of the stuff you have right now. And in a lot of ways this is good because I think a lot of spec builders have just gotten really lazy with their product and there's not a lot of quality there.
Yeah.
And part of that is supply chain issues and the cost increases that have come up. But I think builders need to start accepting the fact that their margins are going to be a little bit less than what they were in the past, and they're going to have to take some of that profit and put it into better materials and more thoughtful design.
Right. And you especially see this with it's so funny when you look at my agents that work in the outskirts, right? And the change in tune from these builders that brought commission down to 1%. These are not spec builders, but the ones, the national builders, and they were cutting agents out of the deal. They're doing everything we remember that stuff
for sure.
For
sure. Conversely, one of my agents just put a couple of new construction first-time home buyer specs, $350,000, $400,000 homes under contract, but they're paying 6% interest rate. I mean, 6% commissions, which is fantastic for him. But yes, I agree. Let's not forget so quickly. And I do wonder what these production builders are going to do because their margins are getting thinner and thinner and thinner. And I think we might see some of these big production builders halt pretty quickly.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I've heard is a lot of, and even this article says that, a lot of these, Wall Street Journal article says a lot of people are just like stopping land acquisition for now.
Right.
gosh. Okay, what else were you talking about in the market here?
Well, I mean, was it yesterday or the day before, Meta announced that they're not going to be moving into their 600,000 square foot space downtown.
Yeah.
And they're going to sublet it out. And it's part of a $3 billion fund to basically reduce their work footprint.
Yeah.
Or $3 billion project. So, first thing is, okay, that's a lot of square footage to rent out. Who's going to be renting it?
Well, I didn't read the article. A buddy of mine sent it because one of my buddies is actually quoted in there. But they're going to keep some of it, right?
I think they're going to keep some of it.
Yeah.
But they're not moving everyone here, which means like, well, who's going to be filling those spaces? Is it going to be people coming in from out of state, from another company from out of state, or is it going to be people that are already in Austin that are going to be absorbing those spaces? And how long is that going to take? But two, like that really does impact what we're going to see as far as buyer activity. Yeah,
well, and I've been talking about that particular building and SpaceX in Bastrop and Samsung and all that. I mean, that was the most alarming headline I have seen.
And then there's another commercial deal, supposed to be the largest high-rise at the Domain that has, I believe they built the foundation, dug down, and then they've halted on that as well. So we're going to start to see some things stall.
Yeah. One thing, I went to a presentation the night before last of 44 East, and then the developer there, one thing he was telling me, and I think people really know, like we're doing a lot of downtown work, right? I've got lots of YouTube videos and walkthroughs of all kinds of stuff downtown on my other channel. But of all the cranes you see and all the towers are going up, there are only 3 that are condos. It was the Vesper, oh gosh, I can't remember the other 2. The Modern, and one other one. I couldn't remember the other one. And the Modern is almost completely sold out.
Right.
Now, we'll
see.
Yeah, we'll see I would assume at least some of those contracts are going to come out because they just poured a foundation, right? And then so the other question I was going to have was the buyers you're working with, the buyers that are coming here from out of state or out of city. What are they coming here for? What's the mentality of what's going on when they move here?
I have fewer out of state buyers than I did before.
Okay,
without a doubt.
Yeah.
In fact, all my active buyers, I've got buyers that are like, if the right thing comes along, let me know, but aren't active.
Yeah.
Most of my buyers are actually maybe not from here originally, but have been here for the last 5+ years that are looking to either, downsize and buy something smaller, or they've been renting for a while. But, one of my clients, he's like, look, my rent is $7,000 a month. It's not my dream house, but it works for me and my family for right now.
Yeah.
To buy a home, and it's in his desired neighborhood.
Yeah.
To buy a home in that neighborhood, he's looking at spending $2.5 to $3 million. Mortgage payment on that is almost triple.
Yeah.
What his rent is.
Yeah.
It's going to add another bedroom. He'll probably have a pool.
Yeah.
And he'll have more square footage, but that's is it worth, leveraging yourself that much? Yes, we can talk about building equity and so on and so forth, and I will hammer all those points home.
Right.
But I mean,
that's
got a point.
That's tough in a luxury market, right? You can. It's easier to justify in under $1 million.
Sure.
The spread.
The swings aren't so bad.
Yeah, the spread isn't as big, but in a luxury market, unless they have a good, $1 million and half
down payment.
The down payment,
right.
It's hard to justify. But you also can argue about right now buying that home at 20% off or in January.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I mean, think about it. Like, I think people get caught up on the rate, and I totally understand that. But let's think about a $2 million house in 78704 6 months ago.
Yeah.
That would have sold for probably 10% over.
Yep.
$200,000 over. It may or may not make appraisal. You're paying for title policy. You're paying for survey.
Yep.
I mean, you are giving them essentially your left kidney.
Yep.
Versus today, a $2 million house, you might be able to get for $1,700,000, $1,800,000.
Yeah.
You're not paying title policy. You're not paying for survey. You're not paying for anything.
Yep.
Really out of pocket.
Right.
So, I don't know.
And then 3 years from now, you're probably going to be up 30%.
Correct.
Right. So
I'm so not worried about Austin long term.
I am not either.
Like at all.
No.
But we're going to be it's going to be a bumpy ride for a while.
It's going to be bumpy for, I think, probably close to a year. I hope it's just that little.
Right.
What do you think?
I don't know. After yesterday's news, I'm a little confused. I think 18 months is within 18 months.
Yeah, that's the average
that's
recession.
Being pretty conservative
Historically.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And then, another thing I'll be curious to see is a lot of these sellers that like want to sell but don't have to sell.
Yeah.
And they're like, look, I'm locked into a 3%, 4% interest
Yeah.
rate. Is there really a point in selling right now? So I think some of this inventory that we see on the market, people are gonna be like, you know what, forget it. I'm gonna stay here for another year or two, and then I'll revisit it. So it wouldn't surprise me if we see a little bit of contraction for resales.
Yeah, which in hindsight, those rates should not have been that low.
Right.
They should have gone up. They should have rates last year should have been at 4.5%.
Correct.
And I think we probably wouldn't have been in this situation right now with inflation.
Right. And my 2 cents, but let me be very, very clear. I think the days of 2%, 3%, and 4% interest rates are long gone.
Well, I don't think we'll ever see them again.
Might get into the 4s again.
Sure.
But 2s and 3s, you can forget about it. All you buyers out there, you need to just get those numbers out of your head. And I know that your neighbor's mortgage payment is like way less than yours.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, you're done.
Yeah.
If you're watching this at home, 5.5% is an amazing rate.
That's correct. And look, the 50-year average, historical average on interest rates is 7.7%.
Yeah.
Which is kind of like where we are right now.
Right.
So it's a lot for us. It's a big adjustment for us right now because it's all happened so quickly.
Yeah.
But historically speaking, we are still well within reason.
Yeah.
And if rates get back down to the 2 and 3% range, that probably means that something really bad has happened.
Yeah. Right. Right.
So let's hope that they never go back that low.
Yeah. Well, as always, this has been great. I think we're going to have to make this twice a year type thing, man. It's always fun.
Sure.
And definitely do drinks. We do that well together.
For sure.
So
For sure. We're probably going to do a lot more of it.
I know. One thing, where can people find you?
You can find me. Our website's Giles Group Austin. My Instagram is Wade ATX, and that's the best way to reach me.
Doing a great job on Instagram, by the way.
Thanks, appreciate it.
All right. Okay, so